Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting of the Lakeville Planning Board to order. It is Thursday, March 23rd, 2023, just after 7 p.m. We are meeting in person at the Lakeville Police Station. Our first item on the agenda is a public hearing for 156 Rhode Island Road. This was continued from a previous meeting and the applicant has requested for a continuance. Mark, do we have a date specific that they'd like to continue at this point too?
It would be till May 11th?
May 11th.
So I'll make a motion to continue the public hearing for 156 Rhode Island Road until May 11th at 7 p.m.
Second that.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Did everybody review the minutes for February 9th?
Yes.
Did anybody have any corrections or comments they'd like to make?
Nope.
No, I move to approve the minutes of February 9th.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Minutes for February 9th are approved. Just as an announcement, planning board's next meeting will be April 13th here at the police station meeting room at 7 p.m. So at this point, I'm gonna say, Bob, if you don't mind, we'll delve into the Pauline's Path thing first.
No problem.
So this is a hearing to extend the certificate of approval on a previously approved subdivision named Pauline's Path. Planning board members, in our packets, we have a document basically that they're requesting for the planning board to sign. Bob, I'll let you go into the explanation on what happened. And so it just clarifies that we're not
Happy to do it, yeah. So the board approved the subdivision originally in, let's see, it looks like it was endorsed on October of 2020. The developer for the project was not the owner of the property at that time. They had a purchase and sale agreement for that. And there were some issues involved in the transfer of that property from one entity to the developer of this property, which took over 6 months. And once the plans are endorsed, the registry of deeds will not record the plans if the dates that the planning board has signed it is over 6 months old. So to rectify that, the attorney for the project put together, the statute does allow for this statement that this certificate of the planning board that was forwarded to you, basically stating that nothing has changed on the plans and they're the same plans that were endorsed, and if you sign this, then it allows us to record the plans within 30 days, I believe, of your signature now. So,
and what we are doing by signing that is reaffirming that we agree that we did a good job then, everything was proper, and that they're not, again, to Bob's point, not making any changes. Nothing's different from what was approved in 2020. It's just we're refreshing the signature because they went stale.
that's exactly right. And there's no drop dead date for the subdivision itself per se. It's just the signatures, it's a registry requirement is really all we're trying to satisfy here.
So do you have any questions on that, Peter?
No.
Nora, I know you weren't present on the board at that time, but, you know, you...
I don't see any issues if the plan is not changing.
Welcome, Jack.
Oh, sorry for the delay.
No problem. We did start, Jack. I'm going to quickly bring you up to speed on, we went through the minutes and a couple other minor things, and we continued something that needed to continue. Right now, Bob Forbes is here from Zenith Consulting. They're requesting us to sign a certificate to extend a previously approved subdivision that never got filed with the registry of deeds because of title issues. They all got cleared up. And it's just a basic standard requirement. So I'm at the point where I'm gonna ask for a motion and approval. All we're doing, and I think you were present on the board when we originally approved it in 2020.
Right.
For Pauline's Path. So that they have not made any changes to the subdivision. They only need us to sign this document to reaffirm that we agree that by them registering this at the registry of deeds, it accepts the original proposal that we approved in 2020.
Okay.
So that said, I make a motion that the planning board will endorse this document to reaffirm the signatures for the approval of Pauline's Path.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. So we'll sign that for you
Thank you very
this
much.
evening and get that squared away. So we'll jump backwards to your next proposal, Bob, which is alternative plan for 13 Main Street.
So you may recall at the last meeting, you let us know, and we knew previously to that meeting that there was a possible zoning compliance issue with the plans that we have presented to you previously. I believe the next day or 2 days later, we met with Nate to discuss, Nate Darling, building commissioner, to discuss the issue. And he agrees that there's ambiguity in the zoning bylaws, the way it's worded, but we are all in agreement that the former plan that we presented to you at the last meeting does not comply with the zoning setbacks for the residential properties that we had shown on the thing. So as a result of that, we decided the best thing to do would be to redesign the project, which has not been done yet, but we have a conceptual layout that we wanted to present to you tonight, and get the board's feedback. This concept plan, this is just a rendering of the type of building that would be proposed by the developer. It's a building that he has built in the past and has been very successful, and in my opinion, it's a nice looking building. This is the layout. And again, this is very, very conceptual at this point. So any input the board has, we will absolutely consider it, and try to, if it makes the project better, we'll try to accommodate whatever comments you may have, requests. So what this is now is we have proposed two large apartment buildings. They're proposed to be 3-story structures, and they're all going to be proposed for, they're all going to be age-restricted units. There's going to be approximately 40 of them. Now, the reason why I'm saying approximately is because it has not been designed by an architect. The interior has not been designed by an architect, and we have to have a commercial aspect to it, where there's an office building shown on the bottom floor in the front, the Main Street side of the front building. So it will likely be somewhere around 40 units. There will be, like I said, they will all be age restricted. We're providing we've got a field of parking in the middle, and we've provided approximately 2 spaces for each residential unit, and there will be, however, I can't tell you right now this complies with it because we don't know how big that office component of the building is going to be. But I assure you, when we come back, the parking spaces will be zoning compliant. The number of spaces that we're providing, 2 per unit, residential unit, and whatever is required for the amount of office space that's proposed. So again, we had considered, we had some infiltration basins back here for drainage. That's why we have a little bit more impervious area on this plan than we had on the previous one. So we have a little bit bigger area reserved. And again, it has not been designed, so there will be some flexibility on us possibly moving this unit backwards a little bit, providing some more spaces. We have the intention of having a sidewalk, which we heard your input for the other project here. We'll get the sidewalk out to Main Street. And likely the on-site septic system will be underneath the parking lot.
So, first couple of things, you still have a note in there about trash pickup would be kind of included and paid for by the tenants, but private trash removal.
Absolutely, yes.
So I guess work me through that, because when it was individual, those small rental unit, individual buildings, I can see people could have a recycle barrel and trash barrel if they had to bring them out and a company came in and picked up those.
Right.
Now, obviously, that's not the same option. Do we probably think we need a dumpster pad or a couple dumpster pads tucked in there?
Yeah, I think there'll be a dumpster pad, and I'll review that with the developer and see what he wants to do with regard to that, but I can't see any other way to do it other than to have probably a dumpster pad for each building. And again, they'll be enclosed and hidden with vegetation and whatnot.
I'm also looking at the rear building and just thinking, if I lived there, I would think that I would want some parking going up the right-hand side of that for easier access to, I don't know if it's one common entrance or there'd be multiple entrances around there. If people lived in the back of the building,
Right.
access around. And then the commercial space up in the front of the first building, is the setback, if we got, it actually is planish facing north. So on the south side of that building, is that 40 feet?
Yes, it is.
To the storage facilities property line, both front and side setback, that building
Yes.
shows at 40,
Yes.
not more than that?
It's a little bit more than that. So we do have some extra space in here. We had, what I think is going to happen, there's a line approximately in here where this portion of the property flows towards Main Street and the back portion flows this way. So we're gonna try to handle the roof runoff and infiltration system back here. So there's a little bit more than 40 feet there.
I'm just thinking from that office retail space, that might be nicer if they had parking closer.
Okay.
Because they look like they're long buildings, maybe over 100 feet.
Right, and that would be something we'll work out with the architect too. What we had anticipated is the entrance, the main entrance would be here with a hallway, and here with a hallway to the front. So, yeah, we will try to do that. So again, we were very conceptual. We just wanted to make sure we could fit something like this on the property before we brought it to this board. And I agree with you. It would make sense to have some parking over here. This is the turnaround for the fire chief. We have sent this plan to the fire chief. We haven't had a chance to meet with them yet, and we don't have feedback on it yet. So we may even be required to get the chief down to here in the event of a fire.
Looks like this design maybe makes it a little harder to maneuver through the parking lot to get through there too with the truck. I'm sure you've worked it out.
It is, yeah. We got the turning movement worked out, so so you have to do it. Well, we had proposed that Y, I guess, turnaround back here on the original plan, and we've essentially moved it up here. But yeah, it is
all those
tricky.
parking spaces will fill. I just want to make sure that the ladder truck could get in here, run to the building.
So
We absolutely will, and we'll run a turning movement evaluation on that, on his exact vehicle that he tells us. So 100%, we understand that that's going to be a requirement, and we will absolutely provide that.
And so just if you can and or do manipulate the park and obviously get that as far as you can and make it work.
Yeah.
With the increase in units, I think you were about 19 before.
Yep.
So you're kind of doubling that. Do you anticipate the septic system design to be able to easily fit on the site and still work with what you're doing there?
Yes, we have ample area here now. Where the other plan was much more difficult for the septic systems because because of the way the buildings had separation, but there was no ability to do anything in between the buildings because they were so compressed together. So we now have this huge field here where we can do one field for the entire site, and it can easily fit. We don't really, we feel that we are going to have no problem at all fitting that in there.
So I'm gonna get a little ahead of us, but obviously,
Absolutely. No, I'd love to
if
hear
we
any
go
input.
to the point with this plan that it does look like approval, obviously we'd want a blessing from the Board of Health on that.
Of course,
Okay.
of course.
I think that's all that I have now. Peter, do you have any comments on this?
No, I like this plan better. I'll
Really?
come out and
Okay,
say,
great.
I do like it better than the other one. I think that you'll get, the parking will just be better overall. Except for the cases of the people who live in the upper back and the forward upper apartments, that could be kind of a hike for those people, but
Yeah.
I mean, they're renting so they can see it and take it or not take it,
Right.
if they're comfortable with it. But on the plan, you'll bring this parking lot will be lit, obviously, versus
Absolutely.
the other street wasn't even going to be lit.
Correct.
So that'll be quite a difference. I do think you're going to have to bring that fire truck down further. Jack had a good point that this building's going to need a ladder,
Oh, yeah, yes.
So,
The biggest vehicle that
Right.
that the chief has. yes.
whereas those other single-family homes would,
Right,
the ladder wouldn't do much to those, so.
right.
You'd still drive that truck in, though. I think
Right.
that's one of the normal response vehicles.
The big difference is these have to be sprinkled where the other ones didn't, so.
Right.
Are you good?
Yeah,
One other question, I'm sorry to take it back. You still have some of the landscape stuff up at the top there. You don't show much screening.
We're not, yeah, we haven't even got to that point.
I
We
figure
will-
you are that conceptual, but we will want to see some.
Absolutely. We have, there's a little bit more, this plan actually gives us a little bit, the ability to have a little bit more landscaping around. Whereas again, that separation of the buildings we had on the last plan didn't provide for really the ability to do anything in between the buildings. other
Couple of
than
boxwoods,
What's that?
couple of little boxwoods.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I think we're going to be able to do something a little bit more enhanced there with the landscaping, the proposed landscaping here.
Nora, did you have any comments?
Yes, thank you. So the number of units are going from 19 to potentially 41, correct?
We don't, yeah, approximately 40 is what I said. So I
Approximately 40.
don't know if it's going to be less than that or what, based on how much commercial space is going to be in there, it's going to drive it.
Well, I have two concerns. I am very concerned about the location of the parking, being that far away from the building. I mean, we're talking about predominantly will be seniors, trying to navigate, I look at particularly in the winter, into the building from parking area that's further out. And I understand that they know that going in and looking at it, but it's not really very inducive for a senior to live in the building and park as far away as they do. The building itself, I know we talked about this a little while ago. I'm a little concerned is that if it's going to be ADA compliant for all floors. I don't think we can just say, well, if somebody's handicapped, they can, we'll limit it to the first floor. Okay? I think we need to make sure that all floors are ADA compliant and reachable by somebody who may be handicapped.
We will find out about that. And like I said before the meeting, we will absolutely have to be handicap accessible to the buildings themselves. There's no question about that. So yeah, we will look into that and find out what the requirements are, and we will meet building code and ADA requirements.
Then I'm going to dovetail on to a comment I believe Michelle said last week about traffic. She was concerned about 19.
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, yeah. Now I'm even more concerned about the traffic if now we're looking at 40 units instead of 19 units.
Understood. I have been tasked with calling the traffic engineer tomorrow morning to get him going on a traffic study for this.
Okay, so when you come back with the plan, all that will be in place and we'll know what the thought is regarding the traffic.
Yes.
Okay, that's all I have.
Jack, do you have anything else?
Yeah, Doug, I would just want to echo what Nora and Peter were saying. Regarding ADA, if I was an ADA person, I want to live in the third or fourth floor. I want to make sure that there's sufficient handicap facilities for them.
We will look into it and we will do whatever is required for a building of this
like-
type.
I think
I don't
like-
know what that means because I'm not an architect, I'm just
Yeah.
an engineer. So.
Like Doug and Peter was, like Nora and Peter was saying, if you're in, can parking be put on the right side of that building? Because that's a hike for some of these folks.
I'm going to try, yeah. Mr. Knox had mentioned that earlier and I'm going to try to do that. It makes sense to try to extend some parking.
Yeah, right along the
It
side.
will open other things up. Now, one of the things that everybody should be aware of is, there's going to be, if there's an elevator, there's going to be one elevator, and more than likely it's going to be centrally located in the building, so.
Or leaning closer to the front entrance, probably.
Exactly.
Right.
So regardless, there's going to be a walk for people in a building of this size. Now, we're looking at, I believe there's going to be 6 or 7 units per floor. So that's only 3 or 4 units on each side of the hallway. So it's not this hallway that, you know, you're not walking down the, from the Lincoln Memorial to the Washington Monument here. We're just talking about a couple hundred, 100 feet or so of a walk. And if it's centrally located, it doesn't matter if you're in the front or the back. People in the front are going to have to walk to the centrally located elevator, go up and then walk back, which is the same distance as walking to the.
That's why I said if you could put some parking on the
So
side.
we'll try to get that, yes.
If you do put
We
the
will
parking
find
on-
out, the more important thing, I think, is to get the parking as close to where the proposed elevators are. And so what has been done in other projects like this, let's just say there's 20 units in this building. We would guarantee that the 20 closest parking spaces, there'd be at least one assigned to every unit in here. And the same on this side, the closest 20 units would be assigned to one per unit here. So now the overflow parking in the second units would be the ones that would be furthest away. So it helps to accommodate exactly what you had mentioned. You're just going to have assigned spaces in a place like this.
And Doug, if you put parking on the side, you still have to be able to have the ladder truck go around there too, so.
Oh, absolutely. The lane the lane that is required by zoning anyway in town is a 24-foot wide lane, which can easily accommodate the vehicle. I believe the biggest engine that the chief has is a width of like 8 to 8.5 feet, something like that,
Yep.
and we're 24 feet.
Right.
So
Okay.
we will put the turning movement software onto this and make sure that he can get around it.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
So if you can, if you basically split the parking lot to prioritize spaces on either side for each building for, again, you say like 20 spaces for a primary parking space. When you call out those towards the front building, again, keep in mind, I don't know if it can be on the side of the building, you do have dedicated spaces for that retail space, just so they're, depending on what kind of business that is.
Yeah, we'll try to do that. There is not enough width to do a double barrel parking area in here, but we'll check that. And again, we're gonna have to find out from the architect where the entrances are, or if they can be changed, and where the elevators are gonna be, and it's all gonna come into play.
Yeah.
And perhaps it makes sense to, when we have something a little bit less conceptual, to come back in for 5 or 10 minutes just to review what we have, what we think we're going to move forward with the final design. If that's okay with the board, I think that makes sense. It always works out better when we can get your input prior to finalizing everything, bringing
Yeah.
final plans to
Yep.
to you.
I do want to say, Michelle couldn't be here tonight, but she did pass along some comments. She wasn't really fond of the height of the buildings. I think it just, her mindset and thought process is that area now, the self-storage next door kind of is on a little bit of a hill, and then she just thinks that the appearance of all that will be kind of overwhelming and outside of the town's character. So I wanted to
No,
pass
I
that along.
understood. I mean, they will comply with zoning, that's all I can say. And I will pass that along to the proponent.
Mark, I know this is very conceptual and we're just looking forward and you're gonna come back with a lot, but do you have any comments that we wanna go into? Like,
Not really. I mean, bringing the parking down past the second building, I know there's a grade there, and that's probably one of the reasons why they didn't just extend it to begin with. The land drops down quite a bit there, so.
You're right, it does, but that's really not the reason why we didn't do it. It's just the fact that we just wanted to show that we didn't want to come before this board with something that we knew we couldn't do.
Okay.
So we just wanted to make sure we got the field of parking that would accommodate two buildings.
Okay.
And now that when we actually put a significant amount more thought into it and actually engineer the project, then we'll be able to work out those types of things.
Sure. Yeah. No, I mean, just from a conceptual perspective, this is.
where do you think it'll be lot coverage wise?
We will be, would you happen to know what the requirement is? Because if we're not going to be anywhere near even 50%, so I'm not sure what the lot coverage requirement is.
Because it's residential and business zone with that mixed use, I'm not positive about
I don't know, I'd have to look at that, but I think, wouldn't it be 50%?
We're
I
not,
would think at a minimum it's 50%.
yeah, we'll triple check that and make sure. We go, once we really start going into the nuts and bolts of the design, we go over everything with a fine tooth comb.
One other thing while we're here and going through this exercise, if you can put parking down the sides of the building to kind of remove some of the mass of that parking area, if it could be, I'm not gonna say separated because you obviously still need some laneways to go through there, but to create some landscaped openings where, you know, primary front parking and then primary rear parking, maybe had some landscape islands to break up the parking so it wasn't just this massive heat island in the summertime of just blacktop.
Yes.
Might be nice, create a little shade with a couple of trees.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we will try to do that.
And then, Mr. Chair, I'm looking at notes from last meeting. There was a discussion about making sure you have visitor parking.
Well, what tends to happen in these are more than likely going to be a mix of different number of bedrooms. There might be 1 and 2s in here, possibly even some 3s. And we're going to be compliant with zoning again. And the two, what we find is something like for an apartment building, it's very rare that you have to provide 2 parking spaces. Usually much fewer than that per unit, because you have people living in 1-bedroom units, even 2-bedroom units. It's just a single person, you know, a single vehicle. So when you bring those into a big field of parking like this, you end up having more than enough visitor spaces for people. Again, we're going to comply with what the zoning requires us to comply with for the number of spaces.
Good, Nora? Pete, Jack?
I'm good.
That last building, can that building be moved back a little bit to that area? And then maybe turn and then bring their parking up to separate it from the commercial parking?
We had this, which building are we talking about? This,
The other one.
this one?
Yeah, if you move it back a
this
little bit,
way?
yeah.
So the first thing I'm gonna do when I start to design this project, actually engineer this project, is I'm gonna determine the size of the infiltration basin that we need back here. And I'm gonna design it. I'm gonna put the infiltration basin in first. And what I'll do is I will push that as far back onto the back of the site as possible. That will tell me how much flexibility I'm gonna have with the relocating these buildings.
Okay.
This is just a rough guess. And as Mr. Resnick mentioned, we have a steep slope coming down from approximately here down the back of the site. So the further we come up into the site, the more we're fighting into that slope with the infiltration basin. So I'm gonna make that as efficient as possible. And then as soon as we're able to do that, that will give me more flexibility on what I can do.
Right.
Now, I'm hoping it doesn't come up, if it comes up to here, we're in trouble. We're not gonna have much flexibility, but I don't think it will.
Okay.
So we will absolutely come back. And like I say, this is so conceptual. If it's okay with the board, I think it makes sense for us to get it less conceptual, more real, and bring it back to you folks and see what additional input you may have before we actually go through with the full set of design plans.
So do you feel like you got enough information from us tonight?
No, great.
Positive stuff and...
Excellent. I know what the board's concerns are, and again, it makes a world of difference when we know before we start doing it, you know, really start laying the thing out, we know what your concerns are, and now we can try to address them as we go through.
Good.
And as you know, we can't always do everything, but we'll try. We will, I assure you, we'll try to get it as much as we can.
Yeah, there's always site constraints that...
Exactly.
That's what I control. Mr. Lodge, did you have a question?
Well,
If you could you please come up to the microphone and state your name?
Just wanted to make a kind of...
Please state your name just before you...
Okay, David Lodge, you need an address? No, okay. Just a couple comments from the peanut gallery and somewhat educated. My thought was that the two buildings don't have to be identical. You could perhaps make the building in the front smaller and be able to push some parking forward a little bit. And the building in the back, if you did something L-shaped, because you've got some space towards CVS to run an L, you might be able to gain space for parking and at the same time not push things back towards your infiltration basin as well. So
it's possible, but the L would be very limited. We would have an L that would bump out maybe 20 feet. We have,
well, yeah,
the reason why we came back with this is the 40-foot side setback requirements. And
you got 40 foot on one side.
This side is exactly 40
Yeah.
feet, and this side is about 60. So it's a great idea to make an L-shaped building.
Yeah.
Excellent idea, but I don't think we're going to be able to do it.
Okay, I was trying to gain space in the building in the back that would perhaps work better, but it was just, you know, it was quick thought. That was the first time I'd seen it.
It's a good suggestion. I wish we could do that. The site constraints it, doesn't look like it's going to allow us to do that, but
Yeah.
we'll take a look at it.
Yeah.
And again, these buildings have not been designed by an architect, so we don't know exactly what they're going to look like. We don't know what the size is going to be exactly. This is just based off a footprint of another building that the developer has
Yeah,
done.
which is why I was
Very
also
successful.
saying that, you know, the building in front doesn't have to be the same as the building in the back. You know, perhaps if the one in the front is a little smaller and you added the one in the back, you could you'd gain some flexibility, because I see where you're tight there is where the site makes the corner.
Exactly. It's an odd-shaped lot. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I have a
great.
procedural question. Where this originally was a posted hearing, we've continued to tonight. Can we still continue this? This is a pretty good change, but
Well, this is not a hearing, this is just coming for a discussion. The hearing was continued until May. What we would do is, have
So we
them
don't-
withdraw, if they choose to proceed with this, have them withdraw the other application and submit a new application, because this is a substantial enough change that this would be a whole new site plan. So,
Well, yeah, we'll,
you know, and we'd have to re-advertise it as this or something similar to this.
So that answers my question.
Yes.
As far as, so tonight, we're not gonna take any action other than, thank you for coming in. There's no vote really
Thanks
to
for
take
having
tonight, but I think it was very productive for both sides. So we look forward to seeing you back.
great.
So obviously, you know, let us know when you're coming back and make sure that if we've got to post stuff or however that works because of the change, we get all rights who are on the agenda properly.
Excellent. Yeah, I think that, again, I think if this is what the attorney, my hands are a little tied because I don't have the applicant here or the attorney.
Right.
Yeah.
But I would like to come back to you again informally for discussion purposes.
And we would welcome
much
that.
more, much further down the line so we can actually get into the nuts and bolts.
I think that's fine.
And we'll let you know when we're ready with that.
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
We look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Next item on the agenda is discuss planning board goals.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to continue this until 4:10 for two reasons. Michelle's not here.
Yep.
We have a new member coming on. And I have received planning board goals from Middleborough, Raynham, and Berkeley, but I'm waiting for Taunton and Easton. And once I get that and put it together, I'll circulate it around to everyone, to Mark, to you, to everyone on the board, and we can look at it prior to the 4:10 meeting.
All right. That's fine. I want to continue that if that's the case. I guess I just want to know. I thought we were pretty well established in the goals we chose. So when we look at these goals from other towns, are we just looking to refine language on what we have?
Yeah, and to make sure
We're not looking
we
to
haven't missed
come up-
something.
But we're not looking to come up with 10 new goals.
No.
Okay.
And we do want to limit the number of goals to around 10.
Okay.
Like you want goals that reflect the needs of
Lakeville.
Lakeville. So, you know, you need to look at what you have in your zoning, other bylaws.
Master plan.
And,
Right.
and that is different than what Taunton has.
No, I
or,
understand that.
You know,
but I'm
all these other
looking to see if we have
communities,
missed something.
Okay.
You gentlemen good with that?
Yes.
What was the date, Nora? April what, 10?
13th is our next meeting, I believe. 4/13.
Make a motion to continue the planning board goals discussion until April 13th at 7 PM.
Second.
Have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We took care of the minutes. Going to review correspondence, March 14th, 2023, regards citizen petition article, which is 6A in our packets. Oh, good, this. How long, we haven't had this very long, have we?
No, it was submitted just before the deadline, like a week ago.
Yeah.
So,
Has it been submitted to Amy from town council, just for her review on if it's flawed or?
I usually, the select board send the entire warrant to council to review. So, I have not sent this version to Amy. I can send this to her as
Well, I
well.
don't think that we should be amending a citizen's version, so I think
Right.
it might be advantageous for us to send it, request if it's flawed, just so we know. And do we think we should schedule a public hearing from a time constraints standpoint
So
now?
we've already scheduled a public hearing for the 13th, because in case there's a problem with the newspaper ad coming out on a timely manner, we still have one more meeting to adjust that. So we scheduled that, as well as the recodification on the 13th.
Okay. I would like to see this go to council.
Okay,
So we have a
sure.
response before that. And again, I'll just reiterate,
Is this coming from that request on Main Street?
yeah,
Okay.
just to see if council thinks that as presented, this is flawed. And I guess my concern is to see if, to make a change alone in the table of use regulations creates a path to allow a use without a special permit process added or amended to the bylaws. Because the only thing they're doing is just adding to the use chart under business special permit. And I kind of feel like that might leave the town in a position where then it's just gonna go to zoning board of appeals because we really don't have a special permit process. And I think that that should go through the planning board.
Well, it would go, if someone's building new, it would go to the planning board for site plan review. But the special permit would go to the zoning board. If someone is, let's say, going to rent a building, this building was for rent and they wanted to use the back half for store warehousing and associated with the retail that they had in the front, then that would only be a special permit with the zoning board. And it could be a change of use, site plan review with the planning board, actually.
I
So-
feel like my personal feeling on this, and we can discuss that at a public hearing, but I think some of that my concerns might play into how this is worded to council. But I guess I feel like if we're making a change like this to the zoning bylaw, I'd still like to see the entire process stay with the planning board, not to go to the zoning board of appeals, where we're creating an allowed use by special permit, that it should stay with the planning board. And that's my feeling.
Yeah, I mean, that would be up to the petitioner to propose an amendment on the floor of town meeting and for council to say that's not a substantial change on the floor, so.
Well, so again, my thought process is knowing all the answers, so when we hold the public hearing, it's gonna make me say I support it or not.
Yeah, I mean, I'll find out about that, so.
Okay. Anybody else have any input on this one?
No.
So that'll be on our April 13th agenda at about 7 PM, depending on what comes first in the order of how much we have.
The codification is first, and then it's that one.
But they'll all be listed for 7 PM, just in case we finish one
I
early.
think I did the second one 7:05, because I knew that the codification would be.
It's pretty much a rubber stamp.
Yeah.
So do we need a vote on this, or are we good with just sending that to council for that?
Yeah, yeah.
So we just get that back for the public hearing? Everybody's good with that?
Yep.
Next item on the agenda, Nora, you had asked for the Kenneth Welch parking discussion thing on the comment letter, so I'm gonna let you go into that.
I have a couple concerns with, Mark, your memo that came out.
Yep.
And I want to preface this by the fact that I've spent some time over there as recently as yesterday. Counted 49 cars on that side berm. I sat there in an empty spot until I parked in it on the building side and watched the lunch crowd and the lunch exit. I don't believe that it's not a safety hazard. I saw people peeling out, definitely going more than the speed limit, a couple near misses, so I don't believe it not to be a safety hazard, okay? And the other thing, I'm just concerned about the memo coming out, and being a representative of what this planning board, feels about what's going on with the parking over there. And this is not representative of what I believe we've discussed and feel.
But that wasn't what the request, why I wrote this memo. This was a memo to the select board requested by the town administrator, who also requested comments from the police chief and the fire chief.
Okay? I just take exception with that it's not a safety hazard at all. I believe it to be a safety hazard. I also believe it to be an environmental hazard.
Yeah, and I note that it's not environmentally sound, considering there's not proper drainage there, but just so that the entire board knows that the staff met with the owners of the property and a new property management group. They have filed with conservation for the parking lot expansion on the west side that,
Next Tuesday.
yeah, that we've been waiting for them to do since, they last came here in, well, they last came to the planning board with the expansion of the west side parking lot in like November, December.
September, October.
Yeah, sometime in the fall. And at that point, the planning board was like, this is great. All those cars are going to be able to come over here. They went to the zoning board to get the lot coverage, right, variance to have a higher lot coverage. And then they were supposed to file with the Concom because there's a little finger of filling and replication in the back. And they were then going to submit the drainage plans to be reviewed by our engineer. But it stopped and in kind of after the zoning board. So now they had a change of management and property management, and they are going, the new firm is a well-respected firm and is moving everything along rather rapidly, so.
Well, they need to keep on that pace because it's been far too long.
Mhm.
That
No, I
situation's
agree.
been there. Any other comments on that? Good, Dora?
Yeah,
So the last page in my packet is part of an environmental partners thing. I don't know if it just
Oh,
was
that's where that went.
out of order.
That was mine. It must have just.
I've got this for you, Kathy.
Mr. Chair, before you go on, do we have any, comments on things going around the area?
Correspondence?
Yeah.
Oh, from other
around the
cities and
area.
towns. So in Taunton, there's a couple more marijuana applications, which is interesting that they're still submitting these. One is for almost 12,000 square feet of cultivation, and one is for a manufacturing establishment, but it's small, only 4,200 square feet. Most of the other notices we received are for smaller projects, division of one lot into two, a little rezoning for a small portion of a piece of land, a modification to a 7-lot subdivision about plantings, an expanded outdoor storage yard, but nothing of significance, no great warehouses, or other large developments from the abutting cities or towns.
Do we have any, updates on Jamie's Way?
Jamie's?
Jill-
Where Jillian Drive, where
sorry.
Jamie lives?
Yes.
No, that will not be going to this spring's town meeting. So it will be inspected,
Later on.
later on.
Okay.
And it'll be for the fall town meeting. The selectman's office felt that, given the fact that it has to go to the select board, to the planning board, back to the select board for a public hearing, that there just wasn't enough time for all that notification.
Have you heard anything about a bridge bundle with Mansfield, Lakeville, and Wareham? There's a public meeting on Wednesday, the 29th. Let me see, it says the current bridges are slated to be repaired, and those bridges are, in Lakeville, is the Route 140 bridge,
That's on.
Pickens over, yeah, Pickens Street.
Kingman.
It says Pickens Street over 140 bridge in Lakeville.
Right, well, both roads go over 140.
Right.
Because Kingman comes in and then it turns into South Kingman one way, and then Pickens goes over and turns into South Pickens the other way.
So you knew about this?
My wife just told me just the other day.
Okay. Because there's a public hearing on March 29th at 6 o'clock.
I think the work starts next week.
Yeah. I mean, I just stumbled upon this. And was a little surprised that the town didn't have any type of notification on it.
Where's the public hearing being held?
Where is it being held? It looks like it might be all remote because it says to attend, you go to mass.gov org's highway division events.
I don't know anything about it, so.
I think that concludes our business tonight. Everybody good?
Other than I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Peter for his years of service.
Good point.
We're gonna miss you.
Thank you.
10 years.
Good luck, everybody.
10 years, well appreciated, Peter.
Welcome.
Thank you. So, that's it, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion and a second, all in favor?
I
Aye.
Motion carries, meeting is adjourned.